Hello, this is History Shorts with the Artifactual Scholar. Today I'll be talking about the case of the United States versus Wong Kim Ark. The case of Wong Kim Ark is the product of two significant political and social developments in 19th century America: Reconstruction and nativist anti-Asian sentiment. In the aftermath of the Civil War, Congress passed a suite of legislation aimed at establishing and protecting civil rights for formerly enslaved African Americans. Included in this flurry of action was the proposal and eventual ratification of three constitutional amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, was in part originally intended to nullify the 1857 Dred Scott decision and to guarantee citizenship to the freedmen. Section 1 of the amendment states, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside." At roughly the same time, there was a growing anti-Asian bias in the U.S. During the 1850s and 60s, many Asians, particularly from China, arrived in the U.S., drawn by the California Gold Rush, the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, and the hope of economic opportunity. Many Asian immigrants settled in ethnic enclaves called Chinatowns in West Coast cities. Yet native-born Americans often distrusted and resented Asian immigrants. Chinese residents of the U.S. faced increasing hostility from politicians, the press, and the American public in general. During the 1870s and 80s, anti-Chinese violence in the West was not uncommon. For example, in 1871 in Los Angeles, Chinese residents were lynched. In 1877, a white mob attacked Chinatown in San Francisco. And in 1886, Seattle's Chinese residents were forcefully evicted from the city. Wong Kim Ark was born in San Francisco in the early 1870s, during this period of uncertainty for Asians in the U.S. His parents had emigrated from China and had established themselves in the Chinese community in San Francisco. When Wong was about 8 years old, they migrated back to China. Wong returned to the U.S. with an uncle and began work as a laborer in a mining camp. In 1882, Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, instituting a 10-year ban on the immigration of Chinese laborers into the U.S. and prohibiting Chinese immigrants from acquiring U.S. citizenship. The act was renewed in 1892 as the Geary Act and made permanent in 1902. Essentially, the United States closed the door on Chinese entry to this country and limited the opportunities for the tens of thousands of Chinese residents already here, including Wong Kim Ark. For his part, Wong continued working in California, making occasional visits to China. On his return from one such trip in August 1895, he was denied entry into the U.S., despite carrying identifying papers that stated his place of birth and citizenship. The Collector of Customs, John H. Wise, who had denied Wong's entry, was an outspoken anti-Asian politician. Wong, with the assistance of attorney Thomas D. Reardon, sued Wise and the Occidental and Oriental Steamship Company. Reardon insisted that Wong had been illegally detained and that he was a natural-born citizen of the U.S. by virtue of the 14th Amendment. The district court in California decided in Wong's favor. In response, the Justice Department appealed the decision to the U.S. Supreme Court. The government argued that because Wong's parents were subjects of the Chinese Empire, he could not be considered as subject to this jurisdiction of the United States, and therefore could not be a citizen. The court, however, in a 6-2 decision, sided with Wong. Justice Horace Gray, in his 1898 majority opinion, stated, "Upon the facts agreed in this case, the American citizenship which Wong Kim Ark acquired by birth within the United States has not been lost or taken away by anything happening since his birth." The decision in the Wong Kim Ark case set a precedent for the understanding of birthright citizenship in the United States. Despite his legal victory, Wong, his family, and other Asian Americans still face decades of legislative and social discrimination. Even in the 21st century, we still contend with the legacy of anti-immigrant, anti-Asian sentiment in our society. This has been History Shorts. Thanks for watching.